All right, now joining us, Rick Trevino. He ran for Congress in Texas 23rd District. Dramatic come from behind victory in the first round. Not victory really, but to get into the runoff, came in second. And now the runoff was tonight, and Rick, we didn't have the outcome we were looking for. So talk to me about what you learned from this race.
Well, I learned a lot. I learned that in a working class community, that people really embrace these ideas of Bernie Sanders. Now, the outcome wasn't the outcome I wanted this evening, but I got close to 8,000 people, at least what it looks like at the moment, that voted for a Democratic Socialist, someone that isn't really a Democrat, someone that's really just a working class person and trying to organize people around class. And this district has been described as conservative for a long time. It's been described conservative because the DCCC, the Democratic Party, uses that as an excuse to send these centrist moderate candidates to the district. In this race also, I learned that the Democratic Party isn't a friend to the progressive movement. They decided to jump into this race very early. They sided with my opponent, Gina Ortiz before the runoff ballots were cast, giving her many resources. So this isn't a fair game. Everybody out there that's watching has to understand that right now the Democratic Party really doesn't want to regain power on these issues. They would rather regain power through the hashtag resistance movement, the path of least resistance, and it will allow them to get into power without promising any real policy proposals. And we just have to be very vigilant about that and continue to persevere and keep our heads high. I think there's a real potential for these politics to continue to captivate the imagination of working families. So I really do think that I accomplished a lot. I beat a candidate that raised $500,000. I did it with a little bit of money. I did it with a lot of hard work. I never sold out. And I was willing to, like Keith Ellison said, strike out on these issues.
Yeah, so Rick, how do you think the Democratic Party helped your opponent in the primary?
Well, first of all, what they did was they gave her access to a lot of media, also a lot of PACs. Like most recent FEC filings showed that Equality PAC, for example, just supported one candidate, that was my opponent, Gina Jones, and gave her $101,000 worth of mail. They also provided her with, again, media opportunities, field direction. They gave her the DCCC arm, and it's a big advantage to any candidate. I myself just fundraised a little less than $50,000, most of it coming from working families, whereas Gina fundraised in just the first 3 months $700,000, which is about 14 years worth of work for a public teacher. So the way they're helping them out is by giving them access to the donors across the country, and also, providing them with a lot of infrastructure that is difficult to organize if you're a grassroots candidate. I did my best. I got nothing to be ashamed of. I could go to bed at night feeling, well, because I tried. I did as best I could. Every day I worked hard. I never took a day off. I let go of my job. I don't have insurance. I let go of my pension. And I did it because I knew that this district deserved the opportunity to hear these ideas, but from an authentic progressive, not some poser.
Yeah. No, Rick, man, I love your effort. And yeah. We were saying that you're the giant slayer because you already beat one guy that had $500,000. But how many people with $500,000 to $700,000 can you beat? And so I wanted to ask you about that. Not just the money, and of course they're not going to give Rick Trevino the list of rich donors to call, right? And then there's not going to be any PACs coming to help you out, and you're a Just Democrat, so you can't do the corporate PACs anyway. So, but how about infrastructure? What did you mean by that? How do they help her with infrastructure?
Well, they have, in terms of infrastructure, a lot of the Democratic Party in the state and local levels, they're really afraid to go against the party. So you saw my opponent get the endorsement of all these state reps, local officials. So first, they provide that type of pressure, right? If these representatives want to be in the good graces of the Democratic Party, they got to play ball. I think that's one thing. Also, they help pay for a lot of the field, a lot of the staffing. They help do a lot of the work that a grassroots campaign like me has to do all on its own. It's similar to what happened in the Bernie-Hillary race, where in the emails you saw that the DNC was basically an extension of the Hillary campaign. So same thing here, Gina had the resources of the DCCC as much as she wanted, and she really didn't have to do anything but just send a bunch of mail, about 8 to 12 pieces probably sent in this cycle, whereas I sent out 3. So, it's just an expensive game that's not fair, and these people aren't our friends, and we got to be really motivated and organized to beat them. It's not going to happen by accident. I learned a lot from this opportunity. I'm only 33 years old. I don't think I'm going anywhere. I really do think that these politics are alive and well in South Texas, and I can't wait for a bona fide progressive democratic socialist to be representing a working class community like I've seen here.
So, last couple of questions for you here, Rick. So Gina Ortiz-Jones wins, and with all the advantages that you talked about, but she's going to be going up against a Republican. So, who are you going to support?
I'm actually not going to make an endorsement. The reason is because, the DCCC campaigned against me. Obviously they don't want anything to do with me. If they really wanted my support in good graces, they probably shouldn't have, supported my opponent before the voters got a chance to speak their minds. And also, I do. It does bother me that, this is a district that's 70% Latino, and Gina Jones, right before the race, added Ortiz to her name so she could do better in this district. Just historically, Anglo last name, Anglo surnames don't do well. The Ortiz addition allowed her to resonate in the district a bit more, but I really do think that was very cynical. And to see the DCCC run against the only Mexican American in the race, the working class candidate, for those reasons, I'm going to kind of stay out of it, because obviously these people aren't the friends to me or the issues that I'm fighting for. And also, if Gina wants the support of my voters, she could do it easy. All she's got to do is really be authentic about them, and it's really up to her to get my support. I'm just going to stay out of it and see what happens, because this isn't about party politics. This is about working class people. We have to move past this, because both parties are completely in the tank for the 1%. And we have to really confront that reality. And anything else is just delusional. To think that the Democratic Party, which is funded by billionaires and corporations and fossil fuels and private prisons and, disgusting Wall Street bankers, they're not going to be the saviors of the working class until our movement, the one that you, Cenk, and TYT and Justice Democrats, brand new Congress, we're trying to really bring to light. We're really trying to create a political movement for working families, not for the elites, but for us. And it's going to require us to be principled and to speak truth to power. This is not going to make me very popular within the Democratic Party here, but that's no big deal.
Yeah,
I ain't going anywhere.
Well, so 2 things I get out of what you're saying. Rick. And look, I think the Republican Party is more corrupt, and I would vote against Republicans. But number one, we have to have public financing because these are not fair races. I mean, this is like, because if you're not familiar with politics, or you're not knee deep in it or neck deep in it, you don't understand what an unbelievable advantage it is to have more money, right? And then we're not having a competition or a battle of ideas or principles between Rick Trevino and Gina Jones. We're just having a battle of who can actually get their name in front of more people. And the way you do that is with more money. And that's it, and we're done. There's no battle of ideas. So we got to have public financing. We must have it, right? And so we have to fight with every ounce in our body to get money out of politics, to have public financing of all elections in this country. And number two, you make a great point. Now the DCCC and the Democrats say that they want unity from you. But did they show unity to you? No, right? So they punch you in the face, and then afterwards they say, hey, why won't you support me? Well, a pretty good reason why, because you just punched me in the face, right? So if you hadn't punched me in the face, then maybe we're having a different conversation. But it was supposed to be a fair contest, and it wasn't. So look, I know that I'd go out and vote against the Republican, in the general election. But having lived what you lived, I get your point of view, brother, in terms of certainly not endorsing or anything right now. And we'll see how things play out. But I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Well, basically, I myself, if I had to choose between Gina and Will Hurd, I would vote Gina. But at the same time, I'm not going to speak on behalf of the voters that voted for me. They voted for me for a reason, for the ideas that I fought for, and it's up to them to really figure out who they want to vote for. Because a lot of the people that voted for me, they weren't all Democrats. I talked to a lot of disaffected Republicans, disaffected independents. So it's not just, it's not a monolith of Democrats in my base, right? It was a complex group of disaffected voters and people that were looking for some type of authenticity, and they deserve that. They deserve the opportunity to make their own minds up. And if Will Hurd and Gina Jones really want these votes, well, they got to go get them.
Yep.
You got to really, again, this isn't a lot of what I've been hearing a lot is all you got to do is vote. If we get the vote out, everything is going to be great. But who are we voting for, right? And that's really what the voters have to be asking themselves. Who out of these two are really going to articulate and manifest the ideas that they want for themselves? But in terms of endorsements, I'm going to kind of stay out of it, just like I stayed out of it in my city council race. I know where I would, who I would side with, but I'm not going to go out there and make an endorsement because, again, we're dealing with an unfair political system that is against working families, and this is a country that is completely run by the 1%. This is a oligarchy, and we really have to be bold in terms of how we confront this and not sugarcoat it. I could play team player and Democratic Party, but it's the same Democratic Party that is stunting this movement and trying to do it on their own terms and cynically embracing the positions, the fundraising style of the Bernie movement. So this isn't a nice game. This is a game about power. And if the working class wants power, we got to really unify and be principled. And it's okay to be principled. It's okay to demand things from the economy. It's okay to demand things from our government. Yeah. It's not, we don't serve the parties. They're supposed to serve us. And that's the position we got to start taking.
So Rick, as I look at you, I see a rebel fighter. And so, and I'm not just saying that, man. You have a fighting spirit, and you rebelled against the system, and you almost did it, right? So, and this was your first run at it. So, of course, that leads me to the last question, which is, what's next for you?
I got to get a job. I'm broke. I got no insurance. I got to get back into, I'm a working class guy. I could only do this for a certain amount of time. Well, more than likely, I'm going to go back into teaching or administration. I have a master's to be a principal. I'm certified. I have a good career in front of me. I really loved education. But, who knows, really? But in terms of being political, I'm going to stay there. I'm going to stay in the Democratic Party and make sure that it evolves for the working class and continue to be a thorn in their side until they really become the party of the working class. And until then, continue to engage our revolution, Democratic Socialists of America, brand new Congress, Justice Democrats. Make investments in these grassroots organizations that gave a candidate like me an opportunity to take this stage and to speak to so many people about these ideas that they never got a chance to talk about or think about. So I'm going to continue to stay in the movement. But in terms of just immediate thing, man, I got some resumes to submit, man. So probably what I'm going to be doing.
All right, well, that's the real world, brother, right? And that's real life. So, Rick, thank you for interrupting your life to try to bring change to people. And look, I don't know about anybody else, but I appreciate it. I appreciate that you took that chance, and that I appreciate that you fought for the people down there. And I'm positive that there'll be another day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. These things. Like, it was March 31st, Austin, Texas, 2015. Bernie Sanders came down to Texas before he announced, and I was there at the front row listening to him, and he said, these movements take a long time. It doesn't just happen by accident. So we just got to continue to be principled, persevere, and believe in ourselves, because eventually things are going to pan out right. Because if things don't change soon, it's only going to get worse for the working class. And it's really millennials, all the millennials out there. If the world doesn't look the way that we want to, it's our fault. We are the biggest voting base now in the United States. We shouldn't be voting at less than 15% a clip. We need to really, like I say, articulate our power, really show what we are and make this country better.
All right, Rick Trevino in Texas. Thank you, brother. Take care. Follow the Young Turks by hitting the subscribe button below or get our new app. It's a wonderful download at the App Store, TYT Plus. Go.